Firstly, our sincere thanks to the President, committee members and the club for giving us this time and the opportunity to explain about Pathways. Pathways is something that is going to dramatically change the way you look at Toastmasters. I mean it. You don't necessarily have to come to the club. The President, all you need is a smartphone and a decent Wi-Fi connection. You have to download the Cisco Webex app. The President can sit at his home and start the meeting, and all of you can sit at your home and take part in the meeting, give your prepared speeches, get yourself evaluated, and also speak in table topics, and everything can be done electronically. Isn't it wonderful? A digital Toastmasters club, making life easy. You believe that?
No.
Because I have learned from Rajdeep Manwani that when you begin your speech, you must make an opening statement to attract the attention of the audience. Unfortunately, my guru is not here. So having got your attention, I want to tell you none of what I said is true. You will still have regular meetings. You will have to come here at 6:30 for some meetings. Breaks, table topics, evaluations done the proper way. But what is going to change is the choice availability. Now, if you've been wondering why should I do a project like interpretive reading, because that may only interest people. I love the project because I love literature, I love dramatics, but someone might say, see, my interest is in management, so why do I have to do this? Now you have more choices. Now she's going to explain all that. In this ecosystem, I am the ambassador, some kind of an impresario or a sutradhar who will come and explain and introduce the concept. And she, Dr. Vijay Shri, a very distinguished Toastmaster from Nikon, is the Pathways guide who's going to work with you for a long time and really make sure that every member gets into the groove of Pathways. Now, although we've done this presentation in many clubs, we are still as nervous as a first-time thief. A first-time thief puts a gun on a passerby and says, "Give me all your money." And that guy says, "What if I don't give you the money?" The thief says, "Please don't confuse me, this is my first time." So my request to you is, please withhold your questions until both of us have completed the presentation. Because this is still in the nascent stage, even we may not have answers, but don't worry, we will be honest to tell you that we don't have the answers. We will not confuse you. Right? That is number 2. So please reserve your questions and then we will go ahead. Because I told you how we are in the hierarchy, for any minor problems related to Pathways, like what is Pathways, when is it going to get rolled out, what are the modalities, what are the paths, what are the levels, for all these minor questions you can contact the guide. And for major questions like how do we solve the Bangalore's traffic problem, you contact the guide. Now, jokes aside, the Pathways guide plays an integral part in the new system, which means she is the backbone of this Pathways program, because she is very thorough, and she is a professor of psychology in Bishop Cotton Women's College. So she has put all her academic experience also in this thoroughness, and so she is going to have virtual seminars with the committee to make sure you understand this very well. So let's get started. As all of you know, Dr. Ralph Smedley, the founder, so his original vision has been translated into this. In 1940, Dr. Ralph Smedley came out with what is called as the basic training manual, on which our existing communication manual is built. And then we had the communication manual, but we just did a minor tinkering. If you have noticed, those who have been with Toastmasters for more than 10 years, Project 2 was getting to the point. But then a lot of feedback came and said, organizing a speech is very important. So the present manuals, what you have is Project 2. So there was some minor tinkering. But what you're going to see now is completely going to change the entire scheme. This is how it is progressing. The basic training manual was very, very basic, and now this is how the present one goes. what happened? Why this change in pathways? Thousands of Toastmasters like you and me have been repeatedly sending feedback to Toastmasters and said, I wish this program is more relevant to me. In fact, right here in Bangalore, when we go to visit the clubs, many youngsters say, I don't somehow connect with Toastmasters. I don't want to become an orator. That can be reserved for people who want to do training or a professional speaker. But I want to know, is it going to help me professionally? Will I make a difference in profession? And that's why they've taken 4 years to make all the iterations. And the good part is, it is not going to stop here. If somebody feels that this is not going to work out for me and there is sufficient feedback, you will have more corrections also. All of you know this. The table topics itself was introduced in Toastmasters just to see that we don't become very morose listening to monotonous speeches, but we also have some fun in terms of a lot of topics. And I was very impressed with the topics all related to women. I was almost tempted to speak, but because you gave all women-related topics and marriage-related topics, I think I should make my point. My wife and I are happily married. I am married and she is happy. I'm just going to give you the gist while she will take you over the fundamentals or rudiments of what is going to happen. High value. So this is highly customized. So far, we've all been doing generic manuals. Up to CC, we all do the same projects. And even in advanced manuals, we generally pick up a project which your mentor recommends, because there is somebody to evaluate. But here, it's all going to change. The best thing is, okay, first question I forgot to ask. Have all Toastmasters logged on to the TM website? Do you have a login membership ID?
Yes.
How many of you do not have? Please raise your hands. Okay, please do it, because from April 24, we are going to roll out this Pathways program on April 24. So you have to have a login ID, because so much of information is going to come through mail. And if you don't, you will be to that extent handicapped, because the print or the regular offline material is going to be less, and you're going to be almost interactive on a daily basis. So please, first thing is log in, get your membership ID, make sure you log into the website and be ready. So 24th of April, each one of us will get a mail welcoming us and also telling us what is going to happen. But you don't have to necessarily wait until April 24. If you have a login ID, if you go to Toastmasters.org, and there is so much of material. When you click on education, there is something called as Pathways Learning. So you will get everything in an infographic and also all your questions answered. Number 2, I would urge all of you to join a forum called Pathways Discussion Forum on Facebook. So that, and the beauty is, District 57 has already rolled out Pathways last year. So you have many members sharing the practical difficulties. Definitely questions like you and me will have. All these are being answered and some solutions are also being given. So you must join these forums just to prepare yourself. One more thing, after April 24, any member that signs up into Toastmasters necessarily will have to go through Pathways. You cannot go back to the old system. Only existing members also, I will just suggest, it is not an order, if you are almost at the DTM level, let's say ACS or ACG, please complete your DTM, because it is a moment of pride to get the DTM block, right? Yeah. So complete that. But let's say you just started, you're in CC4, CC5, I would request you to switch over to Pathways, because that is the future. You still have time till 2020 to go through the old process, but my suggestion is, please hop on what is happening current, that will help you a lot. It is going to be fun, so many experiential activities. And the beauty of this is, everything is not speeches. Now, she did the table topic master role, that is also counted as a project. There are many other things like that. This will give you a lot of value. So you don't have to worry that everything is going to be speeches, but you have role plays, activities, which you can control. Customized to your needs. So as soon as you sign up, what is going to happen after April 24 is, each member will get an assessment. They will try to assess what are your likes, in what field would you like to develop. Based on the assessment, They will suggest 3 paths for you. So that is what is going to happen. Very, very flexible. Suppose you don't like the path, you want to switch over to some other path, you can do it, but there is a time frame which she will elaborate much more. Competency based. What do you want? Let's say Prakash says, I want to make a presentation in my office. You can do that. Have someone evaluate you, and with the permission of your VPE, that is also counted as a project. Vijay Anand goes to some organization and gives a motivational talk. That can also be counted as a project once the formalities are met. So it's that user friendly. That's what I'm trying to say. Resource rich, and this is where I think we are going to come out a clear winner. You don't have to necessarily depend only on the manuals. Just log on to the website. You have ample resources in terms of videos, tutorials. In fact, all your speeches can be uploaded, and you can invite somebody to evaluate you or give some suggestions. The possibility is endless. Already, I think we saw the improvement. You all started voting with the app, isn't it? So significantly, you have much more resources. Meaningful, effective evaluation. This is where I would like to make a point and then go back. Now, Sumitra talked about the sandwich evaluations, but in many clubs, people are using, reusing, overusing and abusing the sandwich method. I myself have heard this. Fantastic speech. After Winston Churchill, this is the best speech I've heard. But your left hand was here, right hand was there. Your structure was not good. The speech structure. Don't look at me like that. Structure was not good. Body language was not there. Triads were not used. But I'm telling you, it was a fantastic speech. Do you think I'm going to be benefited by this evaluation? Right? So what Toastmasters is going to do in this evaluation is extensively they've rewritten the guidelines of evaluation. Each point has a description. And in the new ecosystem, the evaluator has to prepare more than the speaker. So no more evaluator comes, hey, you're going to evaluate. No, not all that is. It's going to be old story because you have to send all this online, you get prepared, and the evaluator has to go through these conditions much in advance so that you give a meaningful evaluation. I think to that extent, I think I am very tailored. You can do your project, even now it is available. You want to finish it in 2 years, 4 years, that's left to you. Choose experience, greater access, expanded resources, and real world applicability, which is what I was telling you. So I think we have a video now where some people already who have gone through, so they're just giving their opinions. Let's take a quick look.
Welcome to the Toastmasters Pathways Learning Experience, an exciting, flexible, and interactive way to develop your skills and help others in your club develop theirs. Building on Dr. Smedley's original vision and Toastmasters' core competencies, Pathways upholds the club experience while offering new, revitalized educational content that helps you learn communication and leadership skills that address real-world scenarios. Pathways expands on the current education and leadership tracks by offering more than 300 competencies across 59 projects. These projects are divided into 10 specialized learning paths that allow you to tailor your experience to fit your needs and your pace. All of this content is available online, allowing you to learn anytime, anywhere, from your computer, laptop, or tablet through Basecamp. Basecamp is the place where you'll find all of the materials for your learning experience, along with tools for your journey. In Basecamp, you'll be able to share feedback with fellow club members, view badges you've earned, access and save digital speech evaluations, and more. When you first begin Pathways, you'll take an online assessment that will recommend the path that's right for you. You'll be able to access your path from your education transcript in Basecamp, where you can view and complete projects. New elective projects, such as write a compelling blog and manage projects successfully, allow you to tailor your learning to meet your interests. Projects in Basecamp include a variety of interactive elements, including questionnaires, quizzes, menus, and expandable content. Educational videos model skills and provide demonstrations of the concepts you are learning. For example, Prepare for an Interview shows effective and ineffective interview techniques. Introduction to Toastmasters Mentoring demonstrates the difference between coaching and mentoring. And Manage Online Meetings provides the best practices and strategies for holding a webinar or another type of online meeting. As you can see, Pathways represents an exciting paradigm shift that brings with it many new learning opportunities. What's more, Pathways will feel familiar to you because it maintains the things you love about Toastmasters, including your club experience. Pathways is coming to your club soon. Visit toastmasters.org/pathways to learn more.
So the rollout in our district is April 24, from which time you will start getting appropriate feedback. Well, this is how I'm not going to touch too much on this because it may get. So after Vijayshri talks about the entire concept, we will have around 15 minutes of Q&A where you can ask all the questions and hopefully we'll be able to answer all of them. So this is how the entire education program has been revamped. They say every speaker, every member has 5 core competencies: public speaking, interpersonal communication, strategic leadership, management, and confidence. Now, for heaven's sake, don't think confidence is also a project. You do a project and they say confidence badge. No, not like that. When you complete your other 4 competencies, you will be expected to add confidence to your entire portfolio. That's what it means. Now, these 5 core competencies will be weaved into 10 parts. You will get more clarification talks. Let's say dynamic leadership. It incorporates 1, 2, and 5. Is that 5 or 3? 3. So which means it includes public speaking, interpersonal communication, and strategic leadership. Please do not think public speaking or icebreaker is compulsory in all the projects. So it's not that you're going to be removed from public speaking. And then let somebody says, now forget all this, I just want to master public speaking, that's why I joined Toastmasters. You have a separate part called presentation mastery, which talks only about public speaking, the use of slides, the use of visual aids. Now suppose you say I'm interested in blogging, I'm interested in podcasting, which is taking over the modern world. Yes, you have a module on that. You will have a manual on that. These are various levels. Once again, I think I leave this to Vijayshri and not. These are various languages. This is something interesting. Each one of you will get an e-portfolio, which means that is your space on the digital. Once you log into the Toastmasters, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all the badges that you get from your fellow. For completing a project. So this can all be stored on your e-portfolio. And what you see down is the appreciation that fellow members give for you. Let's say that you like something, they may give all this, you are giving it in ballots or slips, now you can get it in the online format. Evaluations I've already spoken about. And just to give you an example, each category you see, look at the number of qualifiers. Each, 1, 2, 3, 4 has many descriptions, so you have to fully understand that before even giving a 2. You just can't use the time as a meter scale and say 3, 4. You have to find out is it really making justice to the speaker. And these are all included in each parameter. Mentor program is again being revamped. Mentoring is going to get very serious. It's going to get more professional. In fact, I'm sure trainers will appreciate there's a lot of difference between coaching, mentoring, and counseling. So this will give you a clear idea, and it will equip you as better mentors, and will also help you to become better mentees. Right, this is where I leave her, and she will take over and explain everything, after which we will have a small interactive session. But I'd like to conclude with the remarkable saying of Helen Blanchard, which Nitin referred. She's also the first woman international president, and she made a remarkable statement before she took off, and I resonate with this statement. Anybody who has gained from Toastmasters will be able to appreciate this. She said, if you can get out of Toastmasters all that you can get out of Toastmasters, then you can never get out of Toastmasters. I'm sure anybody who's benefited from this medium will agree. The modality may change, the way we deal may change, but I don't think we can leave this. I'm sure you will all have an enjoyable experience. Let's understand the rudiments and fundamentals, for which I request the very distinguished Dr. Vijay Sri to take over.
Thank you, Toastmaster Chandra Kumar, for building the curiosity and explaining the basic overview of pathways and the way forward, for also encouraging everyone to join the Pathways discussion forum. To guide us further, we have with us someone who is a professor of psychology at Bishop Cotton's Women's Christian College. She is also the co-founder of UD Morning. There are 3 pet projects in her life: psychology, public speaking, and personal fitness. These 3 preoccupations keeps her body, mind, and soul charged with positivity. In her very own words, Toastmasters is a lifelong obsession. She recently completed her ACS. She says she's lost more contests than she's won, and the latest feather in her cap is the district runner-up in the evaluation contest. Over to you, Dr. Vijay Sri.
It's a great experience being here at Bangalore Toastmasters. Like he said, thank you for this opportunity. 1100th meeting, 20 years of Toastmasters. I think it's one of the very few, or perhaps the only club that has reached this milestone. So it's great to be here, and I'm sure this is the club that will lead in this whole new Pathways program as well. So this is if I have a crowd like this in my class, I'm the happiest. The difference is that this is not a captive audience. So there, the only weapon we have is attendance. You come here, attendance, otherwise you have it. So on that note, I'll just go through this briefly because this is a new format that Toastmasters has evolved. Now, unlike the 10 projects that we do and then proceed to an advanced communication manual, so these are 10 different paths that you can choose from. Now, every path typically has about 14 projects. So when I say 14 projects, it would be like if I take a table topic master, that's a project. If I'm a master of ceremonies, that's a project. So every one of those roles, and perhaps in listening that I take, would be part of one of these projects. So on an average, there are about 14 projects under each path. So effectively, I choose one of these paths. If I'm confused, like Alice in Wonderland, and at the crossroads and I don't know which path to take, Toastmasters helps you with a minor, simple quiz that you take, and based on that, they make a recommendation. If you agree with that recommendation, you could proceed. If you don't, you could make your own choice as well. And after having made that choice, if I still feel I'm perhaps not comfortable with that, I don't like what this is panning out to be. So there you have the option to return that path and go for another path completely. But that return policy, I know as Indians we love exchanging things, but that is valid only for a 30-day period. So after that, you have to go through with that. So within 30 days, you can return that. And also there is a flexibility in the Pathways program. You can choose either a print path or an online path. So a print path is where you get, like the old times, you get the manuals across. It gets shipped in 2 consignments, and again, it's a much more expensive proposition as compared to your online path, because everything is so technological friendly, and all of us having these smartphones, you can access it on any one of your devices. It's so flexible, much more content, resources, all that is accessible to you on the online path. Whereas the print path, unless you are in some remote location, you have no access to internet or connectivity, that's when you perhaps would choose that's why they have kept this option of the print path. And as far as the expenses are concerned, for each path here, the first path for all of us members of Toastmasters, it's free. It's part of the subscription that you have already paid. But for the future paths, so if you're considering that you finish one path, once you move on to the next path, you pay a $20 fee for accessing your next path. And that is a payment that you make directly to Toastmasters. So even now for the advanced manuals we pay $6 or $8. So that is what you will be paying for this online resource that you will get. So each path will have these 5 levels. So even this is so beautifully laid out. So you have level 1 where you master the fundamentals. The second level you choose what is called as learning your own style. Each one of us have a unique style of communication and leadership. So that is what you master at level 2. And then you go on to level 3, which is all the knowledge component that is given to you. Then comes the skill component, and then you actually demonstrate that expertise. So whether it's, unlike the previous path where we had 2 tracks, right, communication and leadership. So this is all inbuilt into, integrated into the projects that we choose. So these are the 5 levels that I have to go through for completion. So that's why when he showed you the badges, at every completion, level completion, I get a certificate which I get to print out. And at the end of the path, like we get certified as competent communicator, a silver, bronze and so on. So there you considered as proficient in dynamic leadership, proficient in coaching, executive coaching. So that is what is the badge that you get. So some of us had the question, will this, all this get stored in your profile? And your previous awards that you have already won, say for example you are an accomplished competitor silver, bronze, all of that will get reflected in your profile. But the credits are not transferable to the Pathways program. So I can't say that having got this, I can move on straight away to level 5. That can't happen. Everybody, even if you're a DTM and you want to start the path all over again like Sumitra, you will start with an icebreaker. So April 24th onwards, the atmosphere is going to get very cold because you will have a whole series of icebreakers happening. So that should be the way to start. Yes, absolutely. So like I said, there are these 59 projects. These languages, it's accessible in all these languages. And that is perhaps the advantage you will miss out if you choose a print path. So it may not be available in all the languages. And the content is still being built. So majority of the content is already built, but they're still seeking to improvise on some of the paths or add new paths as well. So these we've gone through. So typically this is where we get started. Like I said, we get a mail and we log in, and my login page will reflect, my name will be there, and then I log into my experience. There are 2 new terms or things that we are talking about. One is called the Basecamp. So Basecamp is your window to the online resources that are available here, and each one of us have everything that is mine stored on that e-portfolio through my Basecamp. So I can, if I have a request to make in terms of I'm going to make this project, I, for example, would be a panelist or a panel moderator in my college workplace, and I want to take credit for that. So I send in a request which gets approved by my VP Ed, and then my credit gets reflected here. So all of that is going to get reflected here, and TMI as well as your VP Ed certifies that, and you are good to go. So you access the Basecamp, you have all the resources that are available to you, very user-friendly for a technologically almost illiterate person. I have been able to navigate through that pretty easily. It's all available there, and those of us who are not really familiar with that don't have to worry at all. It's easier than walking on St. Mark's Road. So the navigator is again your portal or your online resource base, everything from your video tutorials, mentors, your evaluation resources, all of that is available on this navigator. Now, mentors, now for example, imagine that all of us are going to start on this Pathways program. So there's nobody who's reached a particular level. So the resource base is so rich and it's so well structured that anybody could do that mentoring. So it's everything that you would need to know is already there. And then you just go by the structured evaluation. And I think this brings about a lot of objectivity to the whole process of mentoring, like he said, and the subjective bias could be avoided, and all of us become professional speakers and communicators. So this we've already spoken about. So this is like the simple assessment we take to choose my path. So 3 paths will be recommended. your club experience essentially doesn't change. So I come to a club, I give my 5 to 7 minute speech, I get evaluated, and after that evaluation is done, that can be uploaded onto your page. So that's how it works. So essentially the club atmosphere doesn't change, what you do at the club doesn't change, but some of the things get enriched further. You can access and store your speech evaluations as well as your speeches. You can get feedback from every member of your club. Like for example, somebody has something to say, we used to write it on bits of paper. Now all that can also be stored here and it gets reflected on your page. So they say that earlier we were in the traditional path program, we were doing about 68 competencies. In the sense that's what I was listening, skills of listening, evaluating, feedback, all those are competencies. Now this has enriched that further to about 300 competencies which we will really be proficient at the end of maybe 10 parts or 5 parts, whatever that is built into that. So for the club officers, this is a very important slide. What do I do to get my distinguished club program? We have equivalents. So as against 2 CC awards, you get 4 level ones. It could also be a combination. So ideally you get 6 out of those, 12 goes to be the distinguished club. So you have the local support team, which is the district officers, pathway guides, ambassadors. You could always reach out to us with any questions on the virtual conference that we will have. All of you can post your questions to your VP Ed. VP Ed will share that with us and we will answer every one of your queries for as long as you have them. So this is it, we are ready to start. This is how the landing page will look as you log in. So your name gets reflected there at the top. So these are the membership resources. Club Central is where, Leadership Central is where you file for your awards. So all that, once you log in, you will get a, actually we had to get a kit that I supply to every club, but that hasn't yet come. So as soon as that comes, we share that with you. It has a flash drive which has all this information and membership resources, how you would like, we have a membership form. All of those resources are available on that flash drive. So,
yeah, I have 2 questions.
Yes, please.
First one, will it impact the current subscription what we pay to Toastmasters International? Because we are at a particular level now. With all the educational programs changing, will it have any impact on the...
Typically, the current subscription doesn't change as far as I understand. So, for the first part, it is free. For example, if I am a member of 2 clubs, I have to designate something called a home club and then the other club. So, if I am accessing the second part there, for that I would have to pay. But first part for all members is free. Whether membership subscription changes, in my opinion, it doesn't change. So, much of that remains. Because this $20 is only for the path which I pay directly, so the subscription doesn't.
So every time when I choose a path, I need to pay directly. So that the member pays directly to the
Yes, that has been made easy. So if you have a credit card or something, you can pay there. Earlier the officer there used to collect everything, but that is being given. So just to make it easy.
And only then you can access it. So for example, we had the earlier times where we used to just take a photocopy of that and start on the manual, right? So that is not possible. So unless you log in, pay and you get a login access.
And the second question on the club distinguished program, which you went,
Right.
you can go to that slide. I think that is going to be challenging for clubs because all of us are starting from base on this one.
Yeah.
So if I have to reach now distinguished club program, 6 out of 12 goals.
Right.
Since everybody starts at CC1 or level 1, to get into that, because nobody will get different levels to reach. So how that could be addressed? Because this is a general problem throughout the world.
Right, so the left half, you are already going to have it for the next 2 years, you're going to have those awards as well. So that is also going to be counted here, right?
Oh, okay. It is counted.
Counted.
Oh, okay.
Any 6 out of the 12. I'm the VP head of this club,
Yes.
so I imagine that I'm an important person, very important person.
Now going to be called the base camp
Base
manager.
camp manager.
Thank you. What I want to find out is, now each one submits their own projects online, or does it have to go through the VP head?
EPA will have to certify certify
They have to
it.
certify it, but they do it themselves, they put it and I get a indicator, something like that.
Yeah, so there could be a membership, a project approval request that will be featured.
Online?
Yes, online.
Okay, I don't have to go and check with them
No.
if you have finished your project, so.
But you will have to be aware of the completion of that project. So even if I'm giving it at my workplace, I have to, it has to align with these projects that are already there. So I can't simply give any project and have it certified. So I get a request approval and then I give that and get it certified.
Thank you.
And unless you give your yes, it does not get referred, it will not be approved. Class
And there are 3 officers that can do it. So in your absence, the president as well as the secretary can do it.
Excuse me. So earlier we had 2 tracks, the communication and leadership.
Yes.
Now it's only going to be one, that's pathways.
Yes.
Both are merged into one.
So since you have parts like dynamic leadership, strategic
Yeah.
leadership, so all that gets combined.
So when we used to complete certain milestones, we used to be called competent communicators, advanced communicators. So in this particular case, what are we going to be called when we reach certain stages?
So you will, if you taken up the path of dynamic leadership, you will be certified as proficient in dynamic leadership.
Like that.
Because each one is doing different projects,
Yeah.
so there is no generic competent.
That's what I was
communicator.
saying. Yeah.
So you say he does teamwork and collaboration or
Yeah.
coaching, proficient in coaching, proficient in dynamic leadership. I think you will get that.
So each level will have different names like that, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Each level.
Yes.
It's all, what matters is the levels basically.
Yeah, 10 different paths that you're going to do. Yes.
Maybe a small correction, it's not the levels, it's the path.
Paths.
When you complete the path, you will get that.
Oh, I see.
Each path has 5 levels.
Yeah.
Oh,
All the 10 paths have all the 5 levels.
Yes.
Now, am I permitted to attempt 2 paths simultaneously?
Yeah, if you pay the $20 and you feel you can handle that, you can. So that's the only.
Now suppose we have 10 different paths, and what happens when many club members choose a single path and then someone else chooses a different path and they want to be evaluated on that path? So how do we have proficient evaluators for a path that they have not completed in or have not gone through? Because with CC it's all common, and so everyone can evaluate everyone else because they are also going through the same thing. But suppose I go through part 1 and part 2 and someone else has gone through part 3, how will he or she evaluate someone who's going through part 1?
This is the clarification.
Yes, please, yes.
This is the clarification I got from the Pathways discussion group. This is a common question that everyone will have. So what they say is, you must be already having senior members who have completed AC advanced projects in the traditional level. So you consider them competent enough because the guidelines are so rich and self-explanatory. All it needs is someone who's senior to read that and he or she can be your guide. Number 1. Second thing is, just because seniors have taken a particular path, many members will be inclined to take this path because they know I can get guidance from the senior members. So I think what Toastmasters has told us is, educate them to take diverse paths and still you don't have to feel bad that there is nobody to evaluate. So you will have to take the help of the seniors again and then sort of get this evaluated. Yes.
I have another question following up with this, is that what happens if there are no senior members to evaluate? Is there any way in which Toastmasters helps us to find evaluators for this?
No, it's not.
a list of people who could potentially evaluate you.
No, it's not like that. As she said initially, the resources are so rich, even your colleagues can evaluate if they study that properly. But let's say you have a problem and say, I'm not satisfied with the evaluation. You can always go to other clubs and get yourself evaluated. Find out where there are senior members. Right now, once you also become competent rich, then you don't have to.
Yes, this is only a startup
Yes.
teething kind of problem,
Yes.
but
And I think they're also looking at creating a mentor pool which can offer this. Like for example, if it's a new club, everybody is new. For example, we went to the St. Joseph's Club where everybody is just a student. So in such cases, they form a mentor pool and you can access, have the mentoring done by them. By the
thank you.
There is also a mention of online mentoring or uploading your videos online to get feedback.
You could do that as well, yes. After having delivered it in the club, you can upload your speech online and that can be evaluated as well.
Even
Because the
with-
resources are available there for evaluation.
Even without pathways, people are doing that. Now earlier, it used to be so much that the evaluator and the evaluator had to meet in a particular location to look at all his body language and things like that. But today, most of my mentees upload their videos over YouTube link or something. I watch that, or we communicate through Skype, and then give them the rehearsed speech, and then we give the evaluation. So, I mean, obviously, because meeting, he must be in Whitefield and I am in Malleshwaram, it becomes very difficult to do that. Even now, people are doing that. But here, what happens is, you could still upload and request any other Toastmaster from any other place to evaluate. So,
But who does the choosing of the evaluator then?
pardon?
Who does the choosing of the evaluator? When you are
No, that is not official. I'm not saying for a club evaluation. He says, can I get feedback from some? Now, his case is, my speech, I don't think anybody is qualified to evaluate in my club.
Okay.
So if you send your video to a club member who's got advanced speakers, that can be done with the help of the VP. I will inform the VP that I am doing this, and he will correspond, and once he is satisfied that it has been done in the proper manner, he will give us comments.
With respect to the web portal, are we going to use the Bangalore Toastmasters or the Toastmasters.org? It will be one unified web portal.
One common one, but you will have your individual login and your base camp that you will have for yourself. But it's all inbuilt, so it's a learning platform that they have built it on, and everyone has an individual account and a login ID which you can access. But the information there is available to everyone.
The whole club, right?
Does that answer your question?
I know this question was the PMI website, right? Was it?
Yeah.
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 website need to make the
That is
same.
different.
Toastmasters International.org.
You can discuss.
Traditionally, we have, as soon as a member joins, we have mentor assigned to him.
Right.
The mentor knew what are the programs and what are the levels, so he was able to guide the member to take the things forward. Now with the new pathways coming in picture, the mentors themselves will not be aware of many of the paths. They will be aware of few of the paths. So in this case, how is the mentoring program that could be provided by the club to the new members? Like new members might not be aware of at all what to do, even though their choices are provided. So how is the mentoring?
So to start off with, like we said, the senior members are going to serve as mentors in the traditional path or in the pathways program. Also, in level 2 of any path that you choose, there is a mentoring component there, and everybody has, it's compulsory for everyone. Again, there is another exclusively mentoring program there, which is of course free, of course, you don't have to pay the $20, so which Toastmasters encourages everybody and as many people as possible to do that. So that, once you do that, then again you are a qualified mentor for the pathways program. So that again is a credit that is given to you here on your profile. So you are a pathway certified mentor.
So what the club does in the normal circumstance, let's say we go and sponsor a club, all are icebreakers, and they will have the same doubt, who's going to evaluate me? Many times what the clubs do is we conduct a speechcraft program, at least for 10 to 12 people, so that they complete up to 6, so they become qualified mentors. What she's saying is, the club should encourage at least 6 or 7 people to first take the Toastmasters mentoring module and be prepared so that they can act as well. And like she said, this is free for because they want at least as many people to get used to this module.
And then Dr. the website, this mentoring module, it's not part of
It's not part of these 10 paths, it's an exclusive.
Once you start, once the program rolls out, everything will be there. You had something?
Yeah, I just want to ask, can I get any pretext on the parts that are going to introduce now, for example, to shed more light on that? For example, I know what is there in the CC, like icebreaker, get to the point, body language, because it's been existing for a very long period of time. So is there any way where I can get to know what all projects I can attempt?
All the details are here, so I'm going to leave one of these sheets with you. So it's a nice infographic that is being made by one Toastmaster called John Lee.
Yeah.
So each one of these projects, the details of that is given here. And of course, there are links as well that I can share with you that gives you details of each of these paths. What are the specific projects under that? Say, for example, dynamic leadership, it has something, or you have electives as well. So you have a choice of about 10 or 15 areas out of which you can choose. You're supposed to choose 2 electives at one level. So you can choose your electives. So I'll leave that with you for more details.
But please become a member of the Pathways Discussion Forum on Facebook. We have all these details. The infographic and what, the people asking doubts like us. Everything is being clarified.
So
Pathways Discussion Forum on, what do you call it?
And you all have the different levels like we had earlier. AC bronze, silver, gold. Are they different levels? It's all.
Each path 5 levels.
So for example, here at the dynamic leadership, you have first level mastering fundamentals, learning your style is your second level. At the third level, increasing knowledge, you have about electives like deliver social speeches, use presentation software, connect with storytelling. So these are the different electives that are given, out of which you can choose any 3. So, and then you go to the next level, again you have elective projects like create a podcast, building a social media presence, managing a difficult audience, write a compelling blog and so on, out of which you can choose any one of those. So that's how it is.
Okay, one question here. Is there any timeline to complete each pathway?
No,
so minimum.
self-paced. So like you said, you can even take 2 paths simultaneously, 3 paths, if you think you can handle it.
So at any point you're either in the existing CC system for the next 2 years or you're in pathways. Right?
So after 24th April, nobody can go back to the traditional. Okay, and any new member that enrolls after April 24th has to choose only pathways.
Could you please
So
elaborate?
now if you have a new member joining in and they want to do the competent communicator, you can still go ahead and do it because you want to get the feel of it, or practice with your table topics because it's just a month away, so you might as well take on your new pathways program.
But they cannot go to pathways, right? Or they can still.
They can go to pathways. Everybody is allowed to do that after the 24th of
So
April.
once you come into pathways, you have to totally sort of.
Yeah, that's the way forward. So nobody gets to do the traditional.
Only thing is, suggestion is for the ACS and ACG, you can still complete because you have time till June 2020 where these will be allowed. After that, even that will be.
But even then, the DTM is no more going to exist, right?
No, but you will get that credit in your online profile. But you, as she said, you cannot claim credit in pathways.
In pathways.
Yeah. But you can still get your credit of DTM and still receive the plug till 2020. Because that is a moment of pride for anybody.
And of course,
After
in the,
that,
yeah, sorry. In the Pathways program also you have the same DTM, that is your final distinction that you will get. So there it is what is called as the DTM capstone project. So like a HPL or the high performance leadership that we do, we have something called the DTM capstone project, for which you do 2 parts and then you do this capstone project and you become a DTM. In fact, they hasten the process as I understand. So you can get to your DTM much faster than you would at this level. Capstone.
Capstone.
That's
So
a little
what
more
is
challenging.
SPL?
Yes.
Okay.
A little more structured and a little more
I
advanced.
believe you still have to be a club officer and a
Yes,
district officer.
also, yes.
as the lead.
So suppose somebody is an ACN or an ACB, there is no equivalent in pathways which can be directly linked.
No,
Isn't it? Yeah.
credits are not transferred.
So when you complete the pathway, the individual person, individual member has to do that.
Yes.
Generally because it's on, you are saying it's on the credit card. Suppose say there is a person who doesn't have a credit card. Can a committee do the payment on their account?
So that is, I think it is allowed provided you do it with this login ID of this person for whom you're paying. So the payment gets credited against that person.
Please, yeah. One last question, please. That's all. Yeah.
So I believe not all paths will be disjoint, right? Some paths will be similar, and like if I complete one pathway, and if I want to start another pathway, so will I again have to start from the icebreaker, and like
Yes.
won't it be repetitive?
Every path has a icebreaker. What I understand from this icebreaker is, if I choose dynamic leadership, I have to say why I've chosen dynamic leadership. What is my goal at the end of it? What am I looking for? So
For leadership also, like there were 2 paths, like one dynamic leadership and one was
strategic leadership.
Yes, management
So
leadership.
which means you will not do the same icebreaker introducing yourself in every icebreaker. Depending on the path that you choose, you will have to modify your icebreaker also. Why did I choose strategy? Correct, yeah, exactly.
So you also have like a baseline comparison from what you were and what you are after you complete that path. So that's a comparison.
Okay, yes. Thank you so much for this.